All right, welcome to Pass the Mic. It is Friday, August 23rd, 2024, episode 128. Final episode. Oh, sorry, drop something. Final episode before we head back to work. PD starts next week. I know you're excited.
Yes.
Feedback and errors. We clean things up. Not as big of a deal with.
Hold on. Let's talk about what happened before the show and how your.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
by the way, before we
Yeah.
had a little error, I guess we did have an error before the show. Mr. Mike, my partner, Mike Gervasi here, was having trouble with his Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Could not get his laptop onto the Wi-Fi. FaceTime called me, which his phone was still working. We diagnosed a few things. And what was my advice to you?
Turn everything off. Unplug. Well, you said, did you restart? And I had done all that, but I unplugged.
And I said, what did I tell you? What did I tell you to do with the router?
I went to the router. I unplugged it, counted to 30, plugged it back in, and here we are.
And here we are.
Delivering for the
Wayne
people.
State University. We should make this into a commercial for Wayne State.
Oh, we're
School of Library and Information Science.
Yes.
So we did have one little error. Feedback, a lot of feedback. Last week we talked about skills we'd like to have that weren't, are based, a skill we could have, whatever we could have the next day. Max Bailey, the Baileys were very vocal. Mr. Max Bailey, his father, as well as his brother, all have input in this week. Max agreed with me, though. There's something we didn't mention. There is no perfect parenthood. There is no, the books don't matter. And we agreed. We said that if you were the one that got that, you'd be the only one. But he also did say how Mr. Begeman has a photography class down there at Shoemate. I need to go down there and get a few tips from Trent. I know he's really good with Cam. He takes some great pictures.
Ryan Butson does. Ryan Butson has his own little business too, so you can get some help.
Yes, well, Ryan Donaldson took our cross country photos today. I got the shirt on. Max also had some input on the gymnastics you're going to give, but Max, he pointed out that his brother. We did my hot mic take on Michael's having the deepest bench for vocalists. Right, we talked about that last week.
Had a lot of discussion about this.
A lot of discussions about that, and I acknowledge that there's probably somebody out there.
Yeah.
I believe it was his brother that mentioned William or Bill, or derivative, right?
Yeah.
His brother mentioned Bill, and there's a lot of good Bills. Billy Joel, I think, was their number 1 seed. I think we agreed would probably be their number 1 seed.
Absolutely.
I'm a big Billy. I'll allow Billie Eilish. I'm a big Billie Eilish fan. I would almost. Listen, she's right in there 2 or 3. Okay, so you got Bill, and there's other, Williams and sort of thing.
How about Will Smith? You better talk kindly of him. He might come up here.
I'm not. He is talented. I just don't. I mean, I don't think he's in the same ranks as Billie Eilish and Billy Joel.
Welcome to Miami. Doesn't do it for you. How about Night?
Getting jiggy with it.
On my street.
But we don't. Oh. Gary Bailey then pointed out John, right? He was the one that pointed out John.
He did point out John.
You froze up on your joke. You froze up a little bit on your joke. Do you want to re-say your joke?
You froze up too, so who knows what's going on?
Oh, okay. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was the editors. Maybe it was not a family-friendly joke.
Oh, this is getting weird here. Like this is like watching an old movie or something. Oh boy.
So Gary Bailey pointed out John, that name was in the back of my head too, because I thought like John Lennon, obviously there's some talent there. I still think I'm taking Michael over Bill and John.
Well, he didn't know a couple other people because they're a little too new. I said I mentioned them, John Legend and John Mayer. I thought two very good musicians.
John Legend, two very good, yeah.
Yeah. He also I'm sorry, Dave Anderson. Now, he was a former guest on the show. Also, he's our superior, so we have to mention him, right? We can't.
Yes.
Great guy. I'm
Shoemate Middle School administrator.
Yeah. So his wife, Christine, says Steven and its derivatives could give Michael a run for their money for musical artists. And we just mentioned a few Stevens.
Yes.
You didn't like my Steven.
Wait, I already forget who yours was.
Steve Miller Band was one. That's not it, but we didn't mention him. Who else? Steve Perry.
Steve Perry, I think that would be my number 1 seed.
Steven Tyler.
Not Steven Tyler. Stephen Perry would be on a number 1 seed there.
Stevie Nicks.
Ooh, and that might be my number 2, if not number 1.
What are some other derivatives of Steve before I get to the one I brought up?
Would you count as Stephen Wolf?
So I mentioned to you Steven Van Zandt, and you scoffed at it. And
because to me he's a back. That's right. I forgot it because first of all, he's a member of the E Street Band. I'm sure he does some vocal singing "Glory Days" I mean, he yells in the microphone as Bruce is leading the way, and then yeah, he's in The Sopranos. So I don't know.
So I encourage you. I'm sure you never came in touch with this song because it involves rap music. In the 1980s, Steven Van Zandt put some people together that he was a part of the song called "Artists Against Apartheid," and the song was called "Sun City," where musicians and this involved U2, Bruce Springsteen, the aforementioned Bruce Springsteen, Run DMC, the Fat Boys, so forth and so on. All these musicians of different genres got together and did the song Sun City. They're not going to play Sun City because of the apartheid policies in South Africa. And again, Steven Van Zandt was a big figure in that song. Didn't get a lot of radio airplay because at that time you didn't mix politics and music. But the fact of the matter is that was a very, very important song. And so you scoff at him, and I'm mentioning his social impact.
Okay, well, I don't mean to do that. Did that FaceTime call come through on the podcast too as I was talking,
Did you froze
as
again?
you were
What?
talking? Did that FaceTime call come through on the podcast while you were talking? Chloe
No,
just tried to FaceTime me.
oh no, but you're freezing, and like this is.
Maybe she ate up some of the data. I don't
Oh
know. So I
man,
had to send that call to voicemail. We need to get back in Studio B.
Yeah.
All good points. I knew the music one would get some input. Speaking of Chloe, I mentioned this topic. She listened to it as she was getting ready before she was moving back, and I asked her
Okay.
what she thought, and I said, her deduction, this is a college student. She's like, well, I mentioned Michael, and I think at that point I already knew Bill at that point when I talked to her. And she's like, well, they're just common male names. They're going to be just because of statistics and numbers, it's just going to be that way. That was Chloe's theory on it.
Fair point. Logical. Makes sense.
Yeah, and I said, well, I guess you're right because it was an industry heavily dominated by men for a long time, and
Right.
there's just less. It's just the way it goes. So, but I still think I think Michael's have something to do with it. It's like the header on
So,
our Facebook page. There's something about Michael that are just legends.
well, okay. So, Dave Anderson also mentioned David. He's probably joking because that's his name, but I'm just looking up obviously David Bowie. I didn't know David Duchovny,
Very good.
actor,
David
but
Duchovny's an actor.
yeah, an actor and
What's he singing?
singer
Silver
songwriter.
and
I
gold?
don't, I don't know.
No.
It says here, singer and songwriter. Dave Matthews, David Crosby. We got a lot here. Dave
Okay.
McLean.
Dave.
Um, who else here? I mean, there's some Daves here.
Isn't it Don McLean?
It says Dave McLean, Machine Head.
Oh,
Um,
not a fan.
no,
Dave
I've never.
Mustaine, Megadeth.
Yeah, Megadeth. Very intelligent guy. So a couple other things here. Max seemed to be put off by me bringing up Isaiah again. How did I know you'd bring up Isaiah? Now I'm just letting you know, Max, you misspelled Isaiah. This is not Isaiah Thomas, the 2.0. This is Isaiah Thomas, the Piston version. He agreed with you on the closing ceremony.
Yep.
Didn't seem to like my rolling over in his grave. I am going to clarify this for the
Yeah,
listener.
I guess that was an error.
It's not.
Max Bailey's alive.
He's alive and well. It's a Charles Barkley expression that,
So you knew how you were using it.
I knew how I was using it, and I will continue to use it because I think it's pretty amusing. So it's meant to be humorous. I'm sure Max is right now saying, but it's not funny at all. Gary Bailey, underrated Olympian feat, first, second, and always Bob Beamon weeping after demolishing the world record by 2 feet in the long jump, 1968. The world record lasted 23 years until 1919. So that was, and Gary and I actually at the 5K that you did a great job. And man, you guys really overcame some technical glitches there.
Yeah.
You, Max,
I
and
bought a new wireless mic.
Bill Stevenson. Oh boy. More glitches here. I think this show is going to be as glitchy as the 5K.
Yes. I think I don't know. It's that, maybe we need to unplug your router and plug it back in. I don't know.
So those were things we kind of mentioned. Also, Tony. Oh, you mentioned Tony Saavedra already. So I
No,
think
I did. His skill was cooking. That was one I forgot about that I would really like to have.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that good. I'm not that
Right.
good. I eat out way too much. The stuff I do, I mean, I can do some basic things. But here's the problem I have with cooking. When I really want to get into it and do it, I hate cleaning up afterwards too. So it doesn't even matter. But because it's never, you see all these idolized things on TV and stuff, and there's this great, beautiful meal. But the reality is cleaning up after anything you do sucks.
Yeah, agree.
So you spend all this time cooking and preparing. So, but that was a good one. He had another a number of other household chores that I'm sure Patricia would love him to be an expert in.
Last thing, Gary Bailey and I talked at the meet at the 5K about the confusion over Justin Verlander, and we straightened it out completely. Gary was so nice about it. We shook hands. Not that it required that. It wasn't personal at all, but I was simply saying Verlander made it to that second round. That's all it was. So
Okay.
it was more of a semantical debate. We misunderstood each other. My fault, not his. So
All
yeah,
right.
that's it. So lots of Baileys here. Lots of discussion
Yes.
on
Bailey,
Baileys.
Bailey dominated week. All
Yeah.
right. Time for my mic of the week.
Yeah.
You know what's going on in Chicago this week?
Training camp, Chicago Bears, Caleb
White
Williams.
Sox. White
Are you
Sox
going to
losing more
draft?
games.
Are you going to draft Caleb Williams? What round would you take him? What's going on, Mike?
Um, the Democratic National Convention's going on, so I'm like,
Uh-oh.
okay, let's try to, we're trying to tie things in theme wise. So, are you familiar with an 82-year-old billionaire from New York City that has jumped through all three parties: Republican, Independent, and Democratic Party?
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about former mayor of New York City, not the one that's
Mike
facing charges and doing press
Bloomberg.
conferences at the Four Seasons. I'm talking about Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Yeah, right over there.
Mike Bloomberg. Yeah, go on.
Mike Bloomberg is
Oof.
82 years old, worth $16 billion, according to the data I looked up. I
Four
saw a stat when I
seasons.
when I looked him up. He was like only one of three,
Oh,
because he was a Republican mayor at
yeah.
the time when he was only one of three Republican mayors to be reelected in New York City history.
Okay.
That was
Interesting.
actually able to be reelected. He was one. I think the other one is a guy by the name of LaGuardia, who I believe the airport is named
The
after.
airport,
I
yeah.
don't I don't think the odds are that good that there was a mayor of New York but that is our Mike of the week. When did he try to run? Back was that in
I think it was
after
2020.
Obama?
I think it
20,
was
yeah.
2020. I think he was a
Gosh,
part
so
of that group.
he wouldn't have been that young either. He's
No,
82 now.
no. So 4
I
years
guess
ago,
he looks pretty good for 82, but I guess having
oh,
16 billion in the
78.
bank,
Yeah.
16 billion
Right.
in the bank helps out. So Mayor Mike Bloomberg, the 108th mayor of New York City, is my Mike of the week. Ties in with the, I don't even, he's probably not even there. He's probably just enjoying retirement, as somebody that's 82 should be doing.
Absolutely.
All right, it's a week away from it's actually less than a week away till we go back. We usually do this sort of theme when we come back. Go our goals for the school year. By law, we have to set a goal every other year now, according to our new letter of understanding. If you're tenured and have a effective evaluation, we're going to find out next week who, because we can both say we were both effective last year. We're both tenured, so we're either going to be evaluated this year or next year, one of the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll find that out next week. But with that, you have to create a goal. So if you want to be your goal, if you want to be just a couple other goals that you have in general, I know you have a new AP class. I don't want to steal any of your thunder. What are your goals this year for the work here?
That's the one, Mike. I as an AP teacher, I took some training this summer. I am this is to let the listener know, to put you in the mind of a teacher. As you get older, you sort of realize this. I'm sure you would agree before you lost touch with the classroom. You suck your first couple years, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
there's
yeah.
no getting around it.
You're trying to keep your head above water.
You're keeping your head above water. You constantly feel like you're drowning, frankly. And in retrospect, it's sort of acceptable. It's not, you want to be the best you can always be. So I don't want to say it's acceptable, but in a sense, you're not good and you're trying your best. You're trying to figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at. I feel like I'm in that category now. I've taught new teachers, new classes before. There's some growing pains, but this one I truly feel like is going to be it's going to be tough. And the class I took, the guy was brilliant. The guy running it, he's taught for a while, and he told me, he said, you have to accept that this year is going to not be good for you. And
Yeah.
he goes, you try your best. You don't obviously accept failure or anything like that, but I feel like I'm entering my first year as a teacher. I feel like a novice at this. I really am. Scared. Scared's the wrong word. I don't want this to become a Dr. Phil episode or anything like that. But I don't want, these are kids that, are signing, they want a challenge. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
your biggest fear as a teacher, if you're worth anything, any grain of salt at all, or without, I was going to say worth a damn, but I guess I did now.
Yeah. It's still family
is
friendly.
you don't want people ever looking back on you and saying you were joking in any way, shape, or form. That's like that to me. That's
Yeah.
one of the greatest things fears. And so this is I'm hoping to have a good year in that class. I'm hoping that, especially in an election year, and so that's my goal is to have a good year in that class.
Well, as a way to maybe not play Dr. Phil here, but the one thing you have going for you, and as much as I knock the College Board, and I have many a times, their AP program is well designed to help out the teachers, to support the teachers. There's resources online. There are workshops that you have. You have a brand new textbook coming in. You have a lot of tools at your disposal
I
to
do,
make
but
this.
oh God,
What? I didn't
you
freeze.
keep
I thought
freezing.
you had,
What you did
no,
freeze
you had
there.
something to say. I stopped because I thought you were going
I
to say
appreciate
something.
that, but I keep thinking you're freezing, and I'm
No, I
not sure
didn't.
when.
I froze
Okay,
because you were trying to shoot down my Dr.
no,
Phil
I'm
vote
not.
of
I'm not. I'm not.
confidence.
I'm not. The College Board site, though, it's not user friendly.
Oh,
There's a
that's
lot of
true.
tools,
That's true.
but man, it's like I feel like when I go there, I'm almost on like the Michigan Secretary of State website, or
Yeah.
like it is not user friendly
Oh,
at all.
there's
But there is a
hoops.
lot of stuff
Try to
there.
be the
But
coordinator.
right, I get it. I get it. So,
Yeah.
but you're right.
There's also the Michigan Electronic Library has practice AP tests on there
Okay.
by subject. So I'll show you that using
Mhm.
my library skills for you.
Okay.
It's not like you have no, you have a book, you have a network of people that you've sort of networked a little bit over the summer. I'm not saying it's easy by any means. I'm just saying though that you're not going in totally
Sure.
empty-handed.
Sure.
Is what I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
Yeah.
I, Believe me, I don't
I
want to heap too much praise on the College Board.
I also have the assistance of a colleague in our building, Dr. Rice.
Yes,
You know
Patrick
him.
Rice, not Condoleezza or Michael.
You're familiar with him, yeah. And then
I am familiar with him.
a friend who, Michelle from Southgate, who has been so kind. So those two
Yes, so
individuals have
that's
been,
good.
yeah,
Networking, we call that
right,
in the
right,
AP world.
in the
So
biz, yeah,
in the biz, for me, I want to try to find some, as I just mentioned, some resources like the AP, the Michigan Electronic Library. You're very good about using some of the resources I have. I want to get some new resources, data, newer stuff for students to use. A library is not just books, databases, resources. We started introducing more and more of our library catalog, that giving the students the access to look online. The Follett just did a whole revamp of it, and sort of made it the view that students go into now is no longer the old clunky version. It's the much more user-friendly version. So I want to get that information out there. I want to disconnect myself from anything that's negative culture-wise. I'm not, listen, Bill Stevenson always used to say there's going to be school in the fall. There's going to be school in the fall. There's going to be school in September. School's happening. I want to work. Like, let's just get done what needs to be done. I can't take the chirping and the whining and the moaning and the from colleagues, I guess is what I'm saying, or kids for that matter. All right. Like,
okay,
so I'm going to try to distance myself from that. And then I have my last one, read, and read some more. I've been doing it better this summer, but I want to keep up with that and get a lot more reading in professionally. Also, like, well, and for me, I can consider like young adult literature and some new fiction to be professional reading, right? Because I got to read this stuff sometimes before it's put out on the shelf. So those are my goals. I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't thought, in case I am again, if I'm being evaluated this year, I'm gonna have to come up with something black and white and specific, right? Like, do
right,
you have
right.
something penciled in for that?
I do
You don't
not. I
have to
do
tell me
not.
what it is, but do you
No,
have
I
it?
don't. Not yet. Not
I don't
yet.
either. I know they sometimes say do it at the end, but the one time I did it at the end of the year, like it disappeared and I had to redo it all anyway. So I
Yeah.
don't do it at the end of the year anymore.
Right.
And plus now, if you're not being evaluated,
Right.
you don't have to do it. So I'll put something together for that as well if it's needed. All right. Overrated, underrated this week. Again, sticking, we're trying to keep current. The Tigers played a series with the Yankees. You familiar with the team, the Yankees, the evil empire?
Yeah. Who? Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they played what? The games were in New
Was it
York or Comerica?
Williamsport? No.
Well, they only played one there,
Oh,
right?
I don't
Was
know
it?
where
Because
they
didn't they?
were.
I thought it was at Comerica.
I think you're right. I believe you're right.
So two of the three were at Comerica, right? And
Hmm.
then they shifted Sunday. Was
Yes.
it Sunday?
Yep.
Max is the baseball leader. I'm going to
No,
kill
it
me. I
was.
did
It was
not.
Sunday. It was a
I did
great,
not
great
watch it.
game.
So they played Friday, Saturday at Comerica, and then the Tigers gave up one home game against the Yankees. Illich must have been asleep when they signed this deal or something. I don't know. He must have.
I
The,
listen.
the
I
park,
DVR'd
the
the game.
parking he lost out on.
I D- I DVR'd the game, and I came in. Max texted about that, and essentially baseball haters, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and it was a great game.
Yes.
The excitement of it truly was. I ended up
Yes.
watching with it, and it was a really neat thing. So go on. I interrupted you.
Oh yeah,
You
our overrated, underrated
right?
is niche sporting events, niche
Yeah.
sporting games, things like that. These one time, not really one time, but one or two times a season, they put these events on. So some of them, I think, through the years have held up and are pretty cool. I think that one does. I think that one's really cool. It ties in with the Little League World Series. It's not, to me, it's here and then it's not like, okay, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. You know what I mean? Like it happens.
Yeah.
It's one game. I think others are starting to be a little overrated. So that's what we're going to talk about. So what is your overrated niche sporting event?
So I don't even know if this is overrated anymore, but I can stand by this one because I've always thought it. I'm going with the slam dunk contest.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I did like, and this is going to shock the listener, Kent Sikora, I'm going to mention later too, but Kent Sikora was poking at us on the past the mic text about Michael Jordan doing X, Y, and Z during a game, although it turns out the numbers that the guy was talking were somewhat fictional and inflated, but whatever the case may be, the Michael Jordan Dominique Wilkins slam dunk contest, I believe in 1988, was in Chicago, and it was pretty darn cool. There's a lot of controversy associated with it. A lot of people that were watching it felt,
No. Uh-oh.
uh-oh,
Hey, you froze. I paused it.
Mike, it
So
keeps
you're back.
happening.
Yeah, that was a long one. I mean, I was here. I was here. So you Dominique Michael Jordan. That's all right. Go on. I
Are
paused the
we back
recording. You're
on?
fine. We're back on. Yeah, we're live.
Oh man. So Dominique Michael Jordan. So we got to that.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, that one was good. And there's been a few since where there were some neat ideas. But in general, I have just found the slam dunk contest to be just an overrated. There's not too much more you can do anyway, and even the creativity that does come out, I find it to be. I haven't watched it in years. I find it to be pretty boring.
That's a real good one. That's a real good one. To me, and I sort of hinted this one to you, the NFL is doing their best that they can to have games throughout the rest of the world, and they're extremely popular. The
Mm-hmm.
NFL is extremely popular. The problem the NFL has is that it's a lot for an NFL program to travel overseas, and then and they often tie it into the bye week, right? I think that's what they normally do
Yeah.
when they have to go overseas. So it's usually the bye weeks the next week or whatever, so they never have to play again soon after.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, like the NFL games in London that frequently involve Jacksonville, it seems like and I get it. Jacksonville's a very small market NFL city. Okay, so they don't really care about losing this many games a year. But like to me, it's to the point of, and the rumors are always like, are they going to finally just put a team there? Right? Put the team there. Just put
Yeah.
a team there. Like let's just stop it because it's not that unique anymore. You guys are playing three or four, and then like I forget. Do you forget about it like during the season?
Always,
Like when all of a
always.
sudden I get up one morning
Nine
and
thirty
when
game. Yeah.
and again when you're in fantasy, not to geek out on people, that's a
Right.
big
Right.
deal.
It is a big
That's a
deal.
really big deal. And I forget about it now. They went to Germany, I think, and did one, and this and that. And they did Mexico City. So these unique ones that are different. But to me, like put a team in London, and then that way you can do one of these exhibition games with them and somebody else, over there. I don't know. To me, it is what it is. It's overrated. The whole London aspect is overrated,
Okay.
especially because it
Agreed.
involves Jacksonville all the
I
time.
like that one.
All right,
Yeah.
underrated. What do you got?
So this is more of a weekly thing. Every basketball season, the coaches in all on all levels do a coaches versus cancer
Mm-hmm.
fundraiser where coaches the optics start with coaches wear tennis shoes with their coaching apparel, which now is kind of people do it anyway,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So
not. We're not in the suit era anymore, anyway.
right, but that's where it starts. And I kind of looked this up. It has raised over, gosh, I didn't write this down. I had it screenshotted. I don't know what I did with it. I believe it's $167 million for cancer research. So you start at that premise. I think it's become often now people forget about it, but it is such a good cause. ESPN will always show the legendary, and I don't use that word loosely. I'm saying it in all sincerity. If for the listener, if you ever get a chance, Jim Valvano's speech at the ESPYS in 1993 when he was nearing his time was just awesome. And ESPN does a good job of promoting it, but I think it's kind of lost. It's like attention. So I'm going underrated coaches versus cancer.
That's a good one. That's a really good one, even though the clothing thing isn't lining up. My
Right.
underrated, and the reason I'm bringing this up is I saw a TikTok. I know you're not a fan. Somebody did a TikTok about the old day, how now going to be a thing of the past now that the Raiders have moved to Vegas. The old days of Raiders football, and there were many other teams too through the ages, playing those games in early September when baseball was still going on in the Oakland Coliseum, with the baseball field being part of the football field. Like there's gonna be a generation of kids that if you tell them this story, they're gonna think you're absolutely crazy. You remember what I'm talking about? Candlestick Park used to be the same way with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
49ers.
Yeah. It was pretty
There
cool.
would, in those September games, there would be games where that you still had the dirt in the field, like, and you would just have lines, and there would be spots. Imagine today in the NFL, like it would be unacceptable for any NFL game to be
Mhm.
played on a field like
Right.
this. And um, and then I think of like Three River Stadium, the Vet. Those with AstroTurf, they would actually cover those up because it was turf. Like so, the Pirates and the Eagles that played in those sort of stadiums, you wouldn't notice, but they still had the seats that you would be able to tell were outfield walls. So to me, the underrated games that are currently are the games that football games that are played in those situations. Northwestern plays in Wrigley Field every once in a while,
Mhm.
and like the end zone has the
Yeah.
the walls right
Right.
there. There's a bowl game in Yankee Stadium, right? The Pinstripe Bowl, I believe, every year. That's in the winter months, so they're playing in Yankee
Yeah.
Stadium, and it's used as a football field. And I don't remember if I don't think there's one in Fenway. Maybe there was one in Fenway. I don't know, but there's a few games that are still played. They're not regular season games.
Mhm.
They're special games, or I mean, I guess the Northwestern game was like I think it was, I forget who they played. Maybe it was it Notre Dame that they played in Wrigley Field? It was somebody
That sounds right.
they
That
played
sounds right.
they played somebody in Wrigley Field, which again was a football way back. They did do it.
Right.
It's just not the best design, but I think it's just a cool look that you don't see that often, and it is a
Right.
unique thing. I think it's underrated, especially now that the Raiders are now done and they don't do it anymore. The 49ers obviously haven't done it for years. So the old style of playing football games, multi-use stadiums, which are a thing of the past. The NFL owners would never go for that now, especially lowering themselves to chum around with baseball anyway.
Yes.
So, but
Slumming
those
it.
games are pretty cool. Slumming it with the Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Great.
So that's
Great
my
one, Mike. That's a
underrated.
great
So
one. That's really
yeah,
good. I agree. I
I
agree.
mean, you as a kid now, if you show like that, and that was the whole premise of this guy's TikTok is like go show like a 15, 16-year-old kid these games in Oakland Coliseum where the dirt and the turf is all there. What's it going to look like? Did you freeze on me again?
You froze
You
on
there?
me. Yeah.
Well, I'm still recording here, so all right. Hot mic take. What is your hot mic take this week?
Oh boy. Who knows if anybody's going to hear it anyway this week?
Yeah, I
This has
know.
gone
We got
off
to
the
get to
rails.
Studio B.
Yeah.
I
So,
got a lot of
okay.
editing to do tomorrow.
So I am not one that has ever said politics and sports don't mix. I've never said anything like shut up and dribble. I think those are foolish things to say, or shut up and sing or anything else like that. But I am going to, so look, when people say, it's just sports, I really beg to differ. And here's why. Um, there's just a couple examples right now I want to give. Number one, I think back to 1990 NBA Finals when Vinnie Johnson went 007. I was with my dad, my brother, my sister, my mom. My brother had a few people over, and this is really like the last time. Not to get weird on you here, but this was my parents got a divorce. This is the last time we were all together. My brother brought some friends over, and one of which recently passed away. And so, but we all came together for this common thing to watch our team play. When the Lions, I just going to fast forward. The Lions beat the Chiefs last year in the opening game. I was on many text threads. Max Bailey, Rob Raymond, James Giller, and and we were so into this game. And Kent Sikora and I really sent after the game the very emotional text, like sports brings that together. You mentioned your dad, the things you get to do with your dad, or you did with your dad with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is something that we do together that I think transcends politics. Everybody knows what we are as a country now. We're very polarized. People can't even talk about it anymore. So I'm just going to make a plea, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's just I think it's for both parties. I as neutral as I can be on here. I'm sure sometimes whatever I feel kind of filters through. I think you more than me sometimes, but um, the political ads during football games are just such a buzzkill, and I don't care whose side you're on.
Yeah, I
I
know.
I think it is so,
During anything, to be honest.
yeah, it really is.
I mean, I was Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune were on at the golf course the other day, and I think every commercial was back and forth
Yeah,
between the two campaigns.
it is. And, but you think about a football game, if you're at a bar, I have friends, we disagree, but you're behind this team. If you're sitting and there's four of you here and there's a commercial about one candidate or the other, and the two, it's 2-2 in terms of how you feel, or 1-3 even, and somebody makes a comment, well, at that point, it's you've totally like
Buzzkill.
ruined buzzkill. And so
Mm.
again, nothing's going to happen. Not that I'm advocating the government step in on this or anything like that, but man,
Oh
and it is
man.
really, it sucks when you think about what sports can be. And now, and it's been this way for a while. I mean, political ads during games is not anything new, but it's such a downer at that moment. So that's my hot mic topic.
It just seems odd to me. And again, in this day and age, it used to be political ads were all there were, but in this day and age of social media and you know, we talked about how every campaign stop is now at least recorded and there's clips and podcasts and this and that. It's still crazy to me that campaign ads, like, and again, not to get, again, quote unquote, not to get political, the two options available right now, well, three, but as I'm reading stuff today that RFK may drop out, the two options to me, it's one or the other. I don't see how I'm like sitting there going,
Yeah.
I just watched
Right.
this ad. I think I'm going to vote for Donald
Right.
Trump.
Right.
Then I'm a week later, I'm like, oh, this ad seems pretty good. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. Then if we go into September, you know what? I'm going back to, but I guess there must be people that do that. I guess I don't understand, because why would they be spending the money? I'm not a political
Right.
consultant,
These are people much
but
smarter than you and I,
so
but you're right. I don't,
and I don't think either. I mean, a commercial to me is not going to do it anyway. I mean, but I guess people always go back to like the Willie Horton commercial, right? Like that, but that was a different era.
Lyndon Johnson and the Daisy ad. Yeah. All those things did work, but man, you're right. It just
I mean,
seems,
I don't think commercials worked for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump 4 years ago or 8 years ago. I
8
don't
years
think
ago.
I don't think it was, I think Trump was a better candidate in 2016. In 08 and 12, Barack Obama was a better candidate than the other two. But commercials must have some impact, I guess. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I'm not James Carville. All right. My hot mic take.
Or Karl
So
Rove too. Let's make sure we're playing both
Karl
sides of
Rove,
the
yes,
matter. Yeah.
yes, yes. Um, my hot mic take. So it was funny today. I was getting my computer updated and swapped around at work, and I was just talking to the guys about stuff, and we're having a conversation about. They started bringing up gaming, and they're like, "Do you game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have a PS5, but I don't really do it that much." And I'm like, and they're like, "Why don't you?" And I go, "Well, when it comes down to it, and I get some free time, there's just other things that I'm doing. It's sort of like, we've had this discussion before. What are you going to do when you have a couple hours?" So my hot mic take is, we are in a, we talk about things that are better or worse for era. What, and the era we're in now is a dream for people that like television. Like, like I already said, I'm not a big movie guy, but the availability to watch shows, you're not tied to what's just on the TV. And to me, the even better part is the ability to go back and watch things that you either missed the first time or that you really enjoyed many years ago. And there was that era where you'd buy DVDs, but I mean, DVDs of an entire series were expensive, right? Like,
Right. Right.
and so like I started watching on Max, and this was a show back on in early in the 2000s on CBS, a show called Cold Case. Do you remember this
Oh, yeah, I
show?
do. I love that show. Yeah.
Great show, and I love it because of the music. I read somewhere that it wasn't streaming for a while because the music rights were so expensive, because every episode tied in music from the era that wherever this crime took place. right?
Mm-hmm.
So there'd be like 3 or 4 songs that were in there. So it's really cool. Like, so the show is taking place in the early 2000s, but there'd be like this murder like in 88, and the characters, they do flashback, and then like at the end, whenever they solve it, the characters go back and forth and morph between the older actor. Sometimes it's the same actor with some changes, but and they would just show differences. Great show. And then I got to give a plug to one that just got released. It just came off. It's been for years. It was Homicide: Life on the Street, that was not streaming anywhere. It's now streaming on Peacock. A great show built. David Simon was the author of the book, and the show was based on that. And actually, he's the same guy that The Wire became based on, all about Baltimore police. Great show, now streaming on Peacock. It was a great show on NBC way back in the day, about murder cases and some great character. His show, both of those shows, strong character shows. Like, the characters drive everything. Andre
Mm-hmm.
Bauer, before he passed, was the lead on the TV show. And The Wire, to me, The Wire is still some of the best character development ever on a show. So we are blessed with having good TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of sound like a boomer, but that is one thing that's what eats up my time. Like, I'll sit and from our text exchange, Law and Order is on all day Sunday on We, and you'll be the one that has to deal with me and Max
Yeah.
texting sometimes all Sunday as we watch Law and Order from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But to have the ability to stream and just watch it, so that's another reason why. Yes, that's why I don't find myself every time when I'm done, I set aside like an hour to read over the weekend and on some days, but then it gets time to me and I just put the TV on and stream away.
Mm. Good. Yeah. And
I'd like to know what I'd like to know what other people do, what they subscribe to or stream to or watch.
my daughter and
Any
I
good
have,
shows?
I've seen every episode, but we've done Criminal Minds,
Yep,
season
that was the
6
one that
now.
was on Netflix. And
Yeah, so there, you're
Cold
right.
Case,
There's,
Cold Case, I saw like a good amount that were like, sort of like how Law and Order, it was on like a channel and they played them, but then it got yanked, so I didn't see them all. So I started doing it from the beginning, and
Mhm.
then now that Homicide's on there, so that's that. I want to give a shout out to Bill Stevenson and Ray Geis and Jim Oakler. They did a great job with the Sims
Mhm.
run. Carlson represented very well. We had medalist Chris Pate. We got to give that a shout out, right?
Yeah,
Chris Pate
right.
medaled. Ariana Pate medaled. Bailey Merzick, alumnus. Annie Hajak, alumnus. And Reagan Ream. 5 Carlson people
Let
medaled.
me, Bailey's, is it boyfriend, fiance?
I don't know. I don't want to give out bad info.
First
Her
overall.
significant other. First overall, back to back.
Yeah. That's just
Yeah, yeah. So a great event. I want to give a
incredible
shout out
because
to.
he's an
I,
adult. Like,
yeah, the time was amazing too. Great race, even with the stadium all torn up over there in Grosio. I want to give a shout out to our good our art director, Miss Torres, Erin Torres. She did a great job tightening up and designing the cross country T-shirt for this
mhm.
school year. We are gonna look good as always, and that's because of her great technical design work. Maybe I'll have to get her a gift card or something. I think a well-earned gift card. She likes when she gets those gift cards, so I'll treat her well with that. So thank you to her. Not much else going on, right? We're not going to talk the fantasy draft. We're not doing that. Oh, I saw some bad news. What's it called? The super lineman hurt today in the scrimmage.
Who?
What? Now I'm drawing I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Are the best lineman in the league?
Panay
Their
Sewell?
overall number one. Penny Sewell. Yeah, saw that earlier today.
No. Oh Lord. Well,
Maybe it's
um,
overblown.
least practice with foot injury. Holy smokes. We don't need to start this.
Yes, I don't. A Steelers Lions preseason. Will the Steelers score a touchdown? That will be our final question.
I say yes. I say yes.
Here's the thing. Last year, the Steelers were awesome in preseason with Kenny Pickett, and you saw what happened. I'm not worried about preseason. I also don't think Russell Wilson is old, but they are in a better spot quarterback wise than they were last year. The problem is their offensive line is just terrible. So again, just like I would say often last year, they might just not be that good. You know what I mean? They just might. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
Well, yeah, I think the only preseason obviously tells you nothing except let's just get through it healthy.
Yes.
So
And
that's,
Penny Sewell, hopefully, I can't believe I was
ooh,
drawing a blank with the name. Max
yeah,
is going to give
yeah.
me help for that.
Best lineman in football, arguably. So that's
Yes.
big.
And just a great teammate in general. That was a great pick. That was
I
a
was
great
just kind of,
pick.
it really was, idiots like me wanted Justin Fields. Reading about Steeler quarterback now, reading, reading about Penei Sewell right now here. They're hoping it's not serious. A couple of the players kind of comment on it. So let's hope, man.
All right. Well, let's hope for that.
Um,
Maybe next week we can be in the studio.
Maybe. Yeah. We're hoping to line up some guests here coming down the road. I
Yes.
also just got to say, this episode could be glitchy. We don't know what you're listening to right now because this.
I think it's totally fine. There's a couple,
I
might
hope
be a
so.
couple awkward pauses here or
Okay.
there,
All right.
but I think the DNC is eating up a lot of data for the convention. So I think that might be the problem. Uh, Hope everyone has a great week. All of our fellow colleagues going back to work next week. Let's get ready for some PD. Get ready for that. Put your listening ears on, and we will see everybody next week.